Alright folks, how's everybody doing? I want to welcome you to this video. It's a rainy day here in the Philippines. Started out, woke up this morning, absolutely beautiful weather. And it just kind of started raining. I was going to sit outside and do this video, but the rain's kind of blowing in on me, so I didn't want to get the camera wet. Might be a little bit of background noise because wife of mine over here is washing some dishes during the middle of my YouTube video. She got to chop up some potatoes because I'm supposed to go over to Ollie's with my buddy Eric to pick up some hamburgers. Says great hamburgers over there. So anyhow, welcome to this video. And what I'm going to do is reveal the results of our DNA test that we took about 2 weeks ago. I did a video about it, and if this is the first video you've watched, basically my daughter and I, my 3-year-old daughter and I, went over to take a DNA test. And we went to a place here in Angeles City called Quest Diagnostics, and very friendly folks in there. Wow, just very accommodating for us being there, her being a 3-year-old. Appreciate their hospitality. And we went there for the DNA test, and basically all they do is take a swab, a sterile swab, and they just swab the inside of your mouth. It doesn't hurt. It's not uncomfortable or anything like that. It's very simple. It's not like the Horona test where they shove that way up to the back of your brain. But it was a little bit, she wasn't happy about it. I think she thought she was going to get an injection. And so a little bit difficult time getting her swab done. But again, so we went over there, and then they said, hey, it'll be 14 days for your results to come back. And so anyhow, I've got the results right here inside this manila envelope of our DNA results. So I know a lot of you through the years, I actually made some notes, I made some bullet points. A lot of you through the years have sent me messages or comments, both from those of you who are concerned and from folks who are not really concerned. They're just trying to stir drama. And so I appreciate all the comments. I really do. Even some of my friends say and have said over the 3 years, are you sure that's your child? How do you know? You need to get the DNA test. And my friends aren't trying to stir drama. They're looking out for me. They're looking out for me and for what's in the best interest for me. To make sure that she's really my child. And I respect that. And I respect the fact that many of you have reached out and basically said the same thing. So I'd just like to say thanks before we start. When you have a child with a girl, outside of wedlock, with what today's way of doing things and the science of today, well, obviously it's good if anybody gets a DNA test. And I've had some of you guys reach out to me and say that some of their kids in wedlock turned out not to be theirs after a DNA test. So I've heard so many stories about people's personal experience with kids, taking the DNA test and finding out that they're not the biological father of a child that they thought was theirs. So with that said, and I may jump out of order here, You know, I hate like taking clips out of, putting clips in the order that are not chronological. I like to tell a story in the order. I try to keep the clips in the order that it's told. But for this video, if I mess something up and I think that it's not in the right order, I may put something that I say an hour from now ahead of it. I just want to make sure that there's a good flow. But on a video like this, how do you, unless you sit down and write a script, which I don't write scripts. Everything that I say on here just comes out of my head. It just comes off the hip. You know, I did make some notes, but this is not a script. So maybe it's just rambling and discombobulated, but that's the way it's got to be. So one of the first things about my little girl is I wasn't there the day she was born, but the first time I held her was, I don't know, she was a month old. She was a newborn. And I've been raising her ever since. Now I say that, but there were huge chunks of time taken away from me, stolen from me, robbed. I got robbed of time because of this Halloween project masquerading as a pandemic. And I think that's, if you go back through all my videos during the lockdown, when I'm sitting over there stuck on that balcony with Fatima and Helen of Troy, and you know, just drinking whatever liquor I can get my hands on and saying all kind of crazy stuff and going out of my mind. I mean, obviously I'm not happy that I can't travel and I'm being told what to do and all that, but the main thing that affected me was that this situation robbed me of large chunks of time in my little girl's life. Because prior to this stuff, I mean, things weren't running 100% smooth, but it was a 50-50 agreement with her mother. And when it was running smooth, she would go to her mother's for 2 weeks and come to my house for 2 weeks. And, you know, we were both a part of raising this little girl. And the Halloween project starts because of, you know, the world just going mad. And I got robbed of huge blocks of time. Now, I don't want you to feel sorry for me, because I know a lot of you listen to my voice. You are still being robbed of time with your child. You know, whether you're from the U.S. and your child is over here in the Philippines. I know a bunch of you are working in other countries and you can't afford to jump through all the hoops, take off that much time, quarantine, and then you can't go back to the country where you're working without a long quarantine, and you just can't do it because you have to work. I got it. So I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, because there are a lot of gentlemen like me that are in a lot worse positions. You know, people who their child was about to be born and they were coming over for the birth and going to spend a few months, and they didn't get to come. They haven't met their kid. Those of you who were coming over here, you know, every month to see your children, and boom, you got robbed of the same amount of time. And again, a lot of you are still getting robbed. So don't feel sorry for me. I'm just stating my personal situation and my frustrations, but I understand that there are those of you listening to my voice that have a much worse situation. You still haven't been able to spend time with your kids due to this Fauci Halloween project that is still going on, that they just won't just let it go. Just let it go, because what's the saying? You know, the cure is worse than the fucking Halloween project, right? So moving right along. Had it not been for that, you know, I've been in my little girl's life since right after she was born. I will tell the details of the story at a later date. This isn't the forum. But at a later date, I'll explain exactly why I wasn't there for her birth. And it was not my fault. All I want to say is I'm not the one to blame for that. And we'll continue on. So throughout this time, I've been raising this little girl as my own, and everybody's been telling me you need to get a DNA test. You need to get a DNA test. Okay, track it. Okay, now this is a logistical learning point here, if any of you have kids here in the Philippines. And look, and I'm not saying this is everything, and yes, there are ways around it, and yes, there were other options, right? Why didn't I get a DNA test? Okay, in my mind at the time, why do I need one? I don't need science to tell me who my kids are. I was that confident. But at some point, when you start working on paperwork and stuff through the embassy and custody problems and everything else, yeah, you got to go get the DNA test. Got it. Well, my buddy, the J-Dog, one day he said, boom, you know what, I'm tired of talking about it. Boom, there's, I don't know how much he sent, $300-400 in my PayPal account. I said, look, dude, I'm tired of talking about it. There you go. Now you're on the hook. You got to go do it because I sent you the money. And I'm like, dude, it ain't about the money, man. He's like, it's too late. I already gave you a gift. There's the money. Now you're compelled to go do it. I'm not taking the money back. I was like, damn, now I'm on the hook to go get this done. All right, whatever. So I saddled up and I went to a couple places around here. Went to one hospital and another place. And they said, I asked what the requirements were and what the requirements were to make it binding in a court of law. Because there's different levels and it costs more if you have a chain of custody. And the first thing they told me was they needed the mother present with her ID. They had to have the child's birth certificate and obviously me there with ID. Okay, well at the time that was a problem for me. And again, I'll explain all these details at a later date on a project that I'm working on that's ongoing. But the basic details were the mother wasn't going to accompany me to the DNA test. She's not going to cooperate with that. Just wasn't going to happen. That's just part of, when you got baby mama drama, you got ex-wives, you got ex-girlfriends, whatever. They're not always going to cooperate with you, even if it's for the best interest of the child. So A, can't produce the mother and her ID, and B, at the time I didn't have my little girl's birth certificate. So logistically I couldn't do it. Now could you have got one of those little home tests or whatever and sent it in and got some results back? Well, yeah, sure you could. I could have done one of those, but it's not binding in any way. There's nobody to testify that there's a chain of custody. There's no doctor to say, yeah, I took the swabs, I put them in there, I sealed it, I sent them to the lab. So for me, in my mind, it was useless. I guess in everybody else's mind it wasn't useless because they wanted to know. They wanted peace of mind. But in my mind, it was a waste of time. Waste of time. It's not binding. You can't use it in court. Why I don't want to go spend that money. Let me just wait until I can get all these factors lined up and just do it right and do it once. So I wasn't concerned. And the J-Dog wouldn't take the money back. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. I'll hold on to your money until I get it done. Thank you very much, but I can't do it. Not me, it's them. And it makes sense. You can't just show up there with a baby with no paperwork, do the DNA test. What name are you going to put on there that says you are or are not the father? So I'm not mad at the facilities that I went to. You've got to have some paperwork. At the time, I didn't have it. Due to circumstances, outside this dude's control. Okay? Not blaming nobody, because again, I truly believe that everything that happens to me in life, I'm a captain of my own destiny. I will provide some background and explanations in a project that I'm working on to be published at a much later date. But for right now, let's just don't blame nobody but the captain right here, okay? I'm the king. This is my kingdom. I'm responsible for every damn thing that happens in my kingdom. So, okay, couldn't get it done. Couldn't pull it off. Now, moving forward in time, okay, now obviously things got shut down, like totally. You know, things were shut down here totally in this country for a lot longer than most places. We're still dealing with ups and downs, lockdowns, and you know, government entities and buildings, you know, shutting down for the time that these lockdowns are in place. You know, nothing's being done. So anyhow, the current time and the current circumstances are dictating that I have to get these tests done. I had to get this test done. Okay. Now, let me just talk about 3 logistical things. Okay, you can go over to a clinic like we went to and get the test done because I have her documentation now. I don't have the cooperation of the mother, but I have her birth certificate. So, okay, we can go get it done. But that's from a private clinic. As far as I know, the embassy, the U.S. Embassy, is not going to accept those results. And neither is the Philippine court system going to recognize those results. Why? Because there's no chain of custody, right? And I've heard rumors that even if you go to a facility that offers chain of custody, there's approved. So it's, I think, up to the court system, whatever jurisdiction you're in, as to what they're going to accept. So that test was $400 US. $400 US. It's me and my daughter. Now, upcoming, if you are in any type of court system, the best way to do it is at the NBI lab at Camp Crane in Manila. Now, the price that they've told me there is it's $400 US per person involved. So father, mother, child, it's $1,200 US. That, you know, I'm going to have to pay as well. Why? Because there's a chain of custody. They have people that can testify if need be. Now, say you go to the embassy, and I've heard different stories from different people, and you can read the comments on the previous video, read the comments on this video, because when I went to the embassy with my son, they did not require a DNA test. I had ample enough documentation. It's a subjective interview, and the person conducting the interview felt that the DNA test was not necessary in my case. I know of several of you out there that you were required to do the DNA test for various reasons. Maybe you weren't there when the child was born, your name isn't on the birth certificate, or this, that. I don't know what your circumstances are, but I do know that the embassy can require you to get a DNA test if they say so. And you have to go through their protocol, their list of providers, however they set it up. That's a different system. Okay, so realize you go to a private clinic. Is the embassy going to accept it? No. Is the court system going to accept it? No. You go to NBI. Is the court system here going to accept it? Yeah. Is the embassy going to accept it? I don't know. Probably not, unless that's part of their protocol. And I'm just throwing this out there, food for thought. You know, a lot of times the answers don't lie within the guy talking to the video. They're going to lie within the comments down there, or at least you send you in the right direction for your own research. So I just bring that up. And I've heard different prices about the embassy. Some people have said $800, some people said less, some people said more. I don't know, because the embassy did not require me to obtain a DNA test for my son. To all of those of you who are genuinely concerned, to all the naysayers, to all the jackasses, to all the people that I've sent to the asshole corral, everybody that's concerned about this issue, I want to say thank you. And maybe not actually a thanks to the jackasses and those of you in the asshole corral, but the people genuinely concerned, I appreciate it, because there comes a time when silence is betrayal, and I truly believe that. Certainly appreciate everybody's concern. Now, with that said, what if this little girl, who I've been a part of her life since she was born, what if the DNA test, the science says, no, you're not the biological father? What happens then? What would you do? What's the best course of action? And I've heard from several of you about your opinions. You know, you need to disengage because, you know, you're going to cause emotional trauma to the child, because at some point you're going to have to go away because you're not the biological father. I've heard that line. I've heard other people say, you know, it doesn't matter. I've raised children that aren't my own, and they call me dad, and I'm their dad, period. It doesn't matter who the sperm donor was. So I've heard both sides of the fence and everything in between. So for me, what does it mean? If that DNA test, you know, reveals that I'm not her biological father, what does it mean to me? For me, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I've been in this little girl's life since she was born, and you know what? She needs me. So it means nothing to me. If that thing says 0.00% chance, that means nothing to me as far as my feelings, you know, toward this child. Now, does it change the dynamics of the legality and how I interact with her mother? Obviously, sure it's going to. If people tell you to go away, do you have a lot of, are you going to have any rights? Are you going to have any standing? No. Not as far as the law is concerned, at least here. But, you know, around the world, especially in this country, there are millions and millions of children who are, number one, homeless. Number two, let's go to tens of millions of kids that don't have fathers. Because whether you agree with me or not, I live here and I know a lot of males in this country make babies and run away. That's why you got girls working in these bars up and down this strip. You think they're doing it so they can buy a pair of Gucci shoes? Nope. They're working in them bars doing what they got to do because Tonyo made 2-3 babies and ran away. And now they got no way to support the kids. So I'm not in that pool of people. And again, I'm not picking on any particular country, but it is very common here. It's just the way it is. So I'm not in that group of folks. You know, I love my kids, and I'm not trying to run away. I'm trying to spend more time with them, be closer to them, not have to be a weekend father like I was relegated to previously due to a screwed up United States court system. That basically the minute your wife gets pissed off at you, the court removes you as being a father. And then we wonder why kids are going around shooting up schools. It's the absence of fathers. The ingenious court system of America has said that if your wife or your girlfriend gets pissed off at you, we're not only going to throw you out of your own house, but now you get to be a weekend dad and 2 weeks out of the summer. Because it's what's best for the kids. I don't think so. That's why our country's fucked up, is the absence of fathers. Okay? That's the way it is. So I'm not in that group. I'm not running away. I'm here. I'm present. You can try to run me off, but I ain't going nowhere. That's my mentality. So that's how I feel. I don't care what the test says. Does the court system? Well, obviously. Are you going to have any rights or standing? No. And I'm a realist, and I understand that. All right, folks. Two things. I realized the video was getting a little bit bright because the sun's kind of changed and it was brightening up, and I realized I had the gain locked. It wasn't on automatic. My bad. I'm not Steven Spielberg. All right, I'm a pirate looking at 50, and sometimes I forget these settings right here. So maybe it's not as bright now. Number two, I've traded my sunglasses for these here reading glasses, and picked these up for $4. And you know what? Damn, I can see, said the blind man. You get to be 50 years old. I mean, folks, I can still see 500 meters out. You know, I ain't got no problem with that, but I can't read the damn computer screen up close. So you're just gonna deal with these reading glasses? I know I'll make these look good. I know I make these look sexy. Don't get jealous. Okay? What I'm gonna do is just go over some comments here. And see, one of the reasons you wear sunglasses, because when the screen is next to the camera lens, you're always looking over there. Your eyes are always darting back and forth. The screen is over there. It's just natural temptation to look at it, but I need to be looking at you guys. So, here we go. I'm going to read some comments. Alright, let's see. Now, folks, these are just comments. I'm not saying these are right or wrong. I'm not doing the research. I'm just going to read a few comments that you guys left. Alright, this is from Cody. He says, although it's a sad thing that one must do, the DNA is essential to any man who is a father. In North America, the latest numbers show 30% of all kids are not biologically related to their fathers. DNA should be tested right at the hospital after birthing is over and everything is settled. I hope it works out for you and glad you're getting tested. So thank you very much for that comment, my friend. Then somebody replied to his comment that says, you know, with the big hospital bills, you would think DNA testing would be automatic, you know, like it's included in the package. At this day and age, I mean, yeah, I mean, why not, right? Especially in America, you're already paying $1 million to have one kid. They should throw the damn DNA test in there for free. I have no idea how much it would cost to have a child in America now if you had to pay cash. You know, over here it's dirt cheap. I'd have to go back over the video, but basically a private room. She had a C-section. We were there 2-3 days and everything. I mean, it was less than $2,000 US cash out the door, and that's not the cheapest hospital that you could go to. All right, moving right along. All right, this is Papa Smurf, the OG. When you're in doubt, get a paternity test. I believe Forrest G and Maria Mercedes are both yours, but it's always good to check to reassure yourself. Okay? Alright, so good advice right there. Thank you very much. It's from Chris. He says, hey, nice work, Marcos. I did the same test a few years ago and found out the kid was not mine. Wasn't mine. Hope yours is different, my friend. So, Chris, thank you very much for sharing that with us, okay? Now, David's talking about 99% of the time, they, being the U.S. Embassy, are asking for a paternity test if you are not married. If you're married to the Filipina, he says it's a rubber stamp on the cribba. That's the U.S. birth certificate for a child, you know, born over here outside the U.S. to an American parent. So he's saying if you're married and show them the marriage certificate, they're usually cool with it. But if not, then in his experience, they're coming up with the DNA test. And again, folks, I'm taking the comments at face value, what people are saying, whether it's through experience or hearsay, I don't know. But it just gives you a place to do research if you find yourself in the same boat. Okay. No doubt Maria and Forrest G are yours. They have your facial features. Great kids. We watch them all the time when we can. And that's from Daddy Bob. So thank you very much, my friend. Let's see, Robert's talking about Ancestry DNA. He said, let's see, they send you the kits, you do the swabs yourself. The cost is less than $100 per person. Once they're done, they provide you online with matches of your children and other relatives who've had the test done, and they show your lineage. The only drawback is, if you had any other kids that you don't know about and they take the test, it will pop as a match. Alright, so I've never used that. I don't know anything about that. I mean, I know how DNA works, but I haven't never used any of those sites. So thank you very much, Robert, for the comment there, my friend. Okay, it's from Carla. Maria and Forrest G look almost like twins. You're doing the best thing by doing this. This way the hassle with the mother should reduce. Alright, love watching them grow. Tell Fatima hello. Alright, thank you very much, Carla. Thank you very much for the comment. Alright, now this is from Poker Panda. I had to do the same thing for my son for the U.S. Embassy in Europe through LabCorp. Even though I'm the father on my son's birth certificate, that wasn't enough for the embassy. The cost was about the same, and luckily everything went smooth. So I guess he's saying it was about $400 US in his situation. So thank you very much for that comment, my friend. Alright, more great comments on the video. Shout out to everybody who left comments, just talking about the kids playing together. Okay, this is from James. James says, the first rule I learned the hard way from relationships. I got taken to paternity court 5 times in my life. 2 are mine. Always insist on getting a DNA test. Hey folks in America. Hey, thank you very much, James, for that comment, my friend. Folks, America is the easiest place in the world for some girl to say, hey, you're the father, and you're going to start paying, and money's going to be taken out of your check before you even remember what the girl's name is. Other places around the world don't operate that quickly, that freely. But in America, all some girls got to do is say, he's the father, and then go down and open up a child support case on your ass, and they're taking money out of your check before anybody says anything about a DNA test. So, yeah, man, thank you very much for that comment. All right, Thara says Maria and Forrest look like they have the same features, so no need for a DNA. Yeah, for me, thank you very much, Thara, for your comment. Everywhere we go, everybody thinks they're twins because they're about the same height now. Yeah, they do. They look just alike, but they look just like this guy. Fatima, for some reason, seems to insist that Forrest G looks just like her. And I look at Forrest G, and I look at her, and I agree, just so I'm trying to be nice to her. But folks, we went places, and I understand why she's upset, because she is, his mother. But we go places, and people will ask her, Mom, where's the baby's mother? How long have you been the yaya? And she gets so upset about that. She gets so pissed. But the young man looks just like me, and here she is dragging around what they perceive to be this little American kid, and they assume she's the yaya, and they're just wondering, hey, where's the mother at? She gets so pissed off at people, but hey, you can't blame him. Dude looks just like me. Okay. Yeah, and that's what Jeff says. They look like twins. Alright. Let's see. Ty Mexican says, whatever the test result, you will still love her as your daughter. That's absolutely correct, my friend. Thank you very much for that comment. Marcos, you're a wild man, but you do love your kids. My heart goes out to you. And that's from Intuitive Sean. What? Absolutely. You're right on the money, my friend. You're right on the money. You don't need a DNA test to love Maria. I'm with you on that one, man. But legal is another matter. That's from Tito Jeff's Life. Absolutely, I agree with you. And that was sort of my position all along. Exactly. Once you start getting into paperwork and legality and all that, it's the science of today. Nobody wants to believe anybody until they see the science and the DNA test. All right, so a few more comments. William Wallace says, she's your daughter. Thank you very much, my friend. Rocky Pac-Man, why waste the money? She looks 99.9% his daughter. basically all good comments with some good information in that original video, just talking about thoughts, logistics, and everything else. So I want to say thanks to everybody who left comments on that video. Alright, so that sun is getting brighter. It was raining for a little while there. I was actually looking forward to sitting out on the back porch there and getting a little sun. The afternoon sun comes down, I can sit out there with nothing but a pair of Speedos on, my bathing suit, get a nice tan out there. Get a tan, get my sweat on, sweat out some of this beer that I drink. You know what, this Sony FDR AX100, it's a 4K camcorder now, and only shoots up to 30 frames. It came out years ago. It's old technology. But it is an absolute champion. It's been an absolute champion. Even in this heat in the tropics, you know, I've been sitting outside doing talking head videos. Had this thing at the beach. It's been in direct sunlight. It has never, not once, done a thermal shutdown. You know, when your phone gets too hot and it shuts down. This thing has never shut down. Every other camera system I've had, yeah, I can say every camera system, from at some point the iPhone will shut down. At some point, you know, in the heat, damn RX100s, that at least the Mark V will shut down if you breathe heavily on it wrong. You can't let that thing get hot. It's not a hot weather camera. So every camera system I've ever had, at some point, as much as I film, will do a thermal shutdown. But this darn Sony AX100 camcorder that came out years ago, this thing will shoot 4K 30 frames a second till the cows come home. The battery lasts a long time, but if you plug it into the wall, it won't ever quit. It'll burn up all the memory space in the memory card, but it won't do a thermal shutdown. It's like magic. And it's 100 bit. It's 100. The bit rate's 100 megabits per second, so it's not like it's a low bit rate. 4K 30, I got it set on 100 megabits per second. Will record until the cows come home. I'm telling you, it's a great piece of gear, even though it's yesterday's technology. I don't even know why I got to talking about that. Oh, because I was talking about sitting outside, but the sun is, you know, beating straight down. I could do it. This camera ain't going to shut down, but if it comes to sprinkle again, the rain's coming in, I don't want to get it wet. It's not weatherproof. But I'm thinking about upgrading to the Sony FX3, which is basically the same as the Sony A7S III. I do use the viewfinder from time to time, and so I really don't want to lose the viewfinder because the FX3 don't got one, but the FX3 has an internal cooling fan. The next camera system I invest in, if there's any chatter about that damn thing overheating, it's not for me. Because why? Because I'm a tropical dude. I'm in the tropics. I'm in the Philippines. I'm in Thailand. I'm always recording in the heat. So that's why the FX3 is like on my radar, because the thing has an internal cooling fan, and I'm always in the tropics. Now, if I was in the, you know, the Rocky Mountains, I wouldn't be concerned with that because it's cool temperatures and yeah, you don't got to worry. But when you're out here in the direct tropic heat and the sunlight, you have to be concerned with the camera doing a thermal shutdown if you're recording 4K video over extended periods of time. So anyhow, if anybody's got an FX3, let me know how you like it down in the comments. Now, one more thing about cameras, I'll get back on track. You know, Sony came out with the A1, the Alpha 1, which shoots 8K. It'll shoot up to 8K 30. And folks, that's an awesome camera. And yeah, nobody's got an 8K video, 8K monitor or 8K TV now, but in 5 years you will. It's just a natural progression of technology, right? And so I'm sitting there thinking, you know, here's an 8K camera to come out. It's bad to the bone. The only thing I don't like about the A1 is it doesn't have a flip out screen. It's got the old Sony, like, you know, tilt the screen where you can't see yourself. That's the deal breaker. I mean, they screwed the pooch on that by not putting a flip out screen. But anyhow, so I entertained the idea of going to 8K. If I'm gonna get that A1, I've got to put like a little external monitor on it, which makes the camera bigger. But I don't know. What do you think about 8K? Do you think in the next few years people are going to have 8K TVs, or is 4K going to be the acceptable standard? So I'm kind of leaning towards that. I'm leaning towards that 8K, and they say it'll do a thermal shutdown after an hour and a half of filming. I think that's plenty. I think that's acceptable. If it'll run for an hour and a half at 8K 30, okay, I'll take that. But it's more expensive than the FX3. Anyhow, so talking about cameras, I'm sitting here, my laptop's about to die. I'm probably going to get that Mac Mini, but I'm in a quagmire on that too. Is Apple going to come out with the M1X chip with upgradable RAM? I don't know. I think right now, if I stuck with 4K footage, everything I shoot's in 4K. If I stick with 4K, I think the M1 Mac will be fine for me. But if I did bite the bullet and grab that A1 with 8K, I need more horsepower. Then I might have to wait for the M1X chip to come out so it can handle the 8K footage. It's a quagmire. I mean, it really is, because you want to try to, as time progresses, try to upgrade your videography, upgrade everything you're doing. And I got to buy a laptop. I want to upgrade my camera so I can pass this one on down to a new filmmaker that's trying to get started in the business. It's a great camera, but I'm at the point where I want to upgrade, and this gets handed down, help somebody out. Anyhow, if you're a camera, a tech guy, let me know what you think. If I go with the 8K, should I wait for the M1X? Anyhow, all right, we'll get back to let's get back to what we were talking about here. All right, so here's the results here, and I'm gonna pull these things out, and I'm gonna have to get my reading glasses on. Here we go. Now, this form, for the average person, it's not very user friendly. Like when you look at this form, I mean, it's got basic ID data up at the top. It's got some numbers, case numbers, and it has this box, like 3 boxes of squares and numbers and medical data and all this. It's like reading Greek. You might as well throw down Latin, Greek, or Arabic. You have no idea what it means. And you keep reading down to the bottom of the page. Now, it's a 1-page document. But you get down basically, well, not basically, the last 2 lines in fine print. When you look at it, you're like, what the hell? Shouldn't there be like a green or a red dot? I mean, either you're good or you're just no go. No, it's not written user friendly for the individual. If you don't know anything about medicine, you're still like, what the hell does this mean? So I'll spare you all of the medical mumbo jumbo that you're not going to understand anyhow. Let me just read you the last sentences, okay? All right. And obviously it's written in a little bit of legalese, because the lab is just saying, hey, basically this specimen and this specimen. So assuming the specimens are from the persons indicated, the alleged father, Marcos, cannot be excluded as the biological father of the child, since they share genetic markers. Using the above systems, the probability of paternity is 99.99%. So there you go. And I think that's how they're all written. They all say 99.99%. Now, if that's the only reason you were sticking around for this video, let me just put it in layman's terms. Yes, that's my little girl. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe anybody else. Just believe the science. Okay? So, yes, that's my daughter. Do I have any emotions to this report? Absolutely not. Folks, nothing in this report excited me. My heart rate wasn't up. My blood pressure wasn't up. I wasn't chomping at the bit to get the results. I really didn't care. This is just something I had to have for the legality and the paperwork. It's a piece of paper to go in a file to show somebody else to convince them. That paper just convinces everybody else. It means nothing to me. I knew from day one that was my little girl. The minute I saw her first picture, 100%, I knew that was my little girl. The first time I held her in my arms, I knew 100,000,000% that was my little girl. I didn't need a DNA test to tell me that. I didn't need anybody else to weigh in and tell me anything. I don't know, it's just strange that through the years, you know, people have asked me about it, talked about it. Yeah, it's good advice, but it's like, from my perspective, it's like, hey, I know, I just know. I knew. Appreciate your concern. And yes, I needed this for the file. And yes, if I drop dead today, she needs this for her future. But as far as this dude here, you could have hooked me up to a lie detector test, and my pulse, my blood pressure, respirations aren't changing. This ain't news to me. This is something I knew. But now everybody else can be rest assured. Put your mind at ease. We can move forward and talk about other things. And that's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. I mean, I just didn't have it in my, I talked the first part of this video because I was trying not to give up the ghost. And I'll be honest with you, I already knew. Obviously, I already knew because I went and picked up the damn results, right? But I wanted to keep you in suspense. I already knew, but it wouldn't have changed things. If somebody would have brought it in a sealed envelope, my reaction would have been no different. Because I just knew. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Anyhow, that's what I have to say. Results are in. Yes, that's my little girl asleep in there taking a nap next to her little brother. Wonderful children. The most wonderful children. But sometimes when you get into the legality of things, you need science to back up what you already know. And that's all I've done. I decided to do this video just to follow up on the video we did. Maybe you're entertained, maybe you're kept in suspense. But just know there's no emotions for me. I already knew what the test results was going to come back as. It's like me, with a set of loaded dice and sitting here betting against somebody when I know it's already gonna roll a 7 every time. It's not fair. I already knew the outcome. So I want to thank everybody for joining me on this video. And if you're not a subscriber on my channel, there's a little Overstay Road sign down there. If you'll click that sign and ring that bell, you'll get notified when I post new videos. I don't have a schedule. I don't have a watch that works. I got a couple broken ones I wear occasionally as jewelry pieces. But I looked at the stats the other day, and like sometimes the stats are like batting 50%. 50% of the viewership are subscribers, and 50% are not. And so I got 50% of y'all that are non-subscribers, and the statistics say that you have to ask people to subscribe, sometimes up to 3 times, or they won't subscribe. So here I am asking you, click that right there. Because half of y'all listen to my voice are not subscribers. I appreciate you being here. But man, I would love it if you subscribe. So folks, hope you have a great day. For me, Filipino wife number 1, Forrest G, Maria Mercedes. Thanks for being here on our channel. Thanks for watching our videos. Thanks for listening to my voice. And folks, we'll see you on the next one. And peace out. Why are you over there shaking your derriere around? It's cold? I'm not complaining, but I just look over there and she's like wiggling her booty and dancing a little dance. Alright, I'm out of here. See y'all later.